Okay, so for this interview, we're going to talk about what I personally bring to my business, so kind of my human capital that will be beneficial to my business and what makes me different. So I have my sister Taylor here. She's obviously one of the 5 people that know me best. And yeah, so hi Taylor.
Hi.
So first off, just like I said, we're just going to talk about a little bit about what makes me different, what my abilities are, my knowledge, my emotions, my personality, whatever you think is unique to me that would benefit a business or just in general, I guess. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think one of the biggest bonuses or attributes would be that our parents owned 2 successful businesses that they ran from the bottom up, and I mean we were there for all of it. And I like when we were little, we had to be at the store and we listened to mom and we heard mom and dad's conversations and then their conversations with customers and like retailers and distributors and all those kind of things. And I mean, we just kind of grew up with an interest. I know that you and I would like beg mom to help her do the transactions and just like the paperwork and the billing, and along with that came just a lot of knowledge about finances and good things to do. And I think a lot of knowledge that is outside of just the normal, like, well, don't spend outside your means. Like, we learned a lot more of things you can do with your money and ways to invest it that I don't think a lot of people of any age get. And it's been in our heads since forever.
Yeah.
I also think that the fact that they gave us everything that they could possibly as far as knowledge and a basis to start our own finances off, but at the same time they didn't baby us. Like, we weren't handed everything. They made us save, they made us work, they made us earn the money.
Yeah.
And so if we made bad choices, then we had to deal with the problem. Even when they started giving us credit cards and that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, they helped us co-sign, but if we got ourselves in a hole, we had to get ourselves out.
So, from those experiences, what would you say a characteristic of my personality is as a result that'll be good for this business?
I think that your personality and you personally would bring a much more well-rounded knowledge and an intellect to the financial business, just because you've seen both sides, the entrepreneurship from our parents, but also all of your personal experiences with your own finances and choices that you've made through all of the years and travels.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye. Okay, so for this interview, it's going to be about me and my human capital that I bring to the business. So we're looking at what makes me different and in regards to my abilities, my skills, my knowledge, my emotions. So I have Anna Ogie here, and she is one of my best friends from childhood. We've known each other for a very long time. So hi, Anna.
Hi, Hannah.
All right, so like I said, I've already kind of explained my business to you and the whole idea of the financial planning service, but what would you say makes me different, and what human capital do you think I would bring to a business? Shoot.
Well, Hannah, I've got to say that growing up right next door to you and going to school with you from a young age and just generally knowing you for a long time, I would have to say that one of your best attributes, in my opinion, is the fact that you are so committed and loyal and so determined and persevering in anything that you pursue, whether it's been academics or school activities or even, sports and athletics, that you're so driven, and when you set your mind to something, you go for it.
Aw, thank you. That's so nice. Okay, so I guess as the final question, because those are all really nice attributes of me, what would you say, personality-wise, is the most valuable human capital that I would bring? So, I don't know. So what's the most valuable attribute do you think for a business owner?
Hannah, I think that you are incredibly caring and sensitive. And so, when it comes to entrusting, whether it's financial assets or whatever it is, I would have complete faith in taking that to you and would have the utmost, trust in your abilities to do that.
Aw, that's such a huge compliment. All right. Well, that's all I need. So thank you so much, Anna. That was really helpful.
Oh, great. No problem.
All right. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Okay, so this interview is going to be about human capital for business. So what is different about me? My skills, abilities, emotions, knowledge that makes me different. So I have Scott here. Scott is my boyfriend, so he is one of 5 people that know me best. And so, hi Scott.
Hello.
So I am going to ask you to explain what makes me different, what characteristics of my personality or my skills will be beneficial to my business and would count as valuable human capital.
The first thing that comes to mind immediately is your integrity. So I know that you are somebody who will do the right thing for the customer no matter what. You would be the last person in the room still doing the right thing for the customer, even if it takes 4 hours and it should have been something that would have taken 30 minutes. If a customer's got a ton of questions or needed their hand held, you would do it, and you wouldn't allow for the customer to feel like there would be an inconvenience. You would be fully invested. And again, just because you do it because it's the right thing to do, and you also really care about people. So that is huge. That is a competitive advantage that more people need these days. But and then secondly, you're very intelligent. You're very bright. And you can apply a lot of logic to fundamentals, and kind of take something that is a theory and make it customized to an individual, and that's really important too, because everyone's different, everyone's situation's different, and you're going to be able to analyze exactly what their needs would be and tailor it immediately to them, but also with a personal touch. In comparison, there's some people that it just sounds textbook, it just sounds technical, and they can't relate. So I can't really believe that you were an engineering student for 3 years before this, because you don't really fit the mold, but yeah.
Alright, well, I don't even think I have any additional questions, because you covered personality, abilities. I guess the only other thing that I would ask that some people have talked about is what would you consider, I feel like I'm fishing for compliments at this point, but what would you consider my work ethic to be? I think that's an important skill or ability when starting a new business.
Yeah, well, I think very few people respond as well as you do when pressed against the wall. So You're very flexible and you have a problem-solving mind. So things come up. People have curveballs in their life, and your ability um, to maneuver and, okay, I understand that this happened. We didn't expect this, but this is how it's going to change the plan we had talked about, and this is where it's going to go, and this is how it's going to work, and all this great stuff. So I could totally see that being something that you're going to bring to a customer as a benefit.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Scott.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure.
Okay, for this interview, we're looking into me and what makes me different. So I have my mom here. It says to find 5 people that know you best. So I brought her in to give her 2 cents. So, hi, Mom.
Hi.
So I've explained my business plan to you of my financial planning service for young professionals. So this kind of relates to that, but I guess just in general, what you think of me. So I need to know what you think makes me different, focusing on my knowledge, my skills, my abilities, my emotions. So go ahead.
Your knowledge? Well, you've got a good educational background. Your abilities, you're smart and you listen to people. Your emotions, I think you're sensitive to others and can pick up on little things in conversations for what they're actually looking for and what their need out of you as a financial advisor.
So, what would you say makes me different compared to maybe someone else looking to start a business?
That it's not about money. It's about actually helping people and making things better for someone as opposed to, just get in, get out, get their money.
Okay.
I watched you do that in your current job, even when you had sales goals. If it wasn't good for the customer, you didn't encourage them to do it. And that's a good trait.
Okay, and do you think you and Dad owning a business and me kind of growing up around that affects my skills and my abilities and the way that I approach business?
Absolutely, because, since you've been little, you've been around us discussing, accounting issues, customer issues. You always wanted to play with the cash register and, just in general to hear people talking about business and all aspects of business, not just, would you like to buy this? We talked about employment issues and delivery issues. And you've also been around us as we talk about our retirement plan and how we choose to retire and invest our money. And you've also watched us personally, handle our money throughout the years. And then we trained you to have good attitudes towards, keeping good credit and, don't live beyond your means.
Okay.
I think you did learn a lot just being around us. And I think that leads you to have a better idea of what, people need and want in their financial advisor.
Okay. And what do you think is the most valuable human capital that I bring to the business as a final question? Of all the things that you've said, what's the most important part?
your sensitivity towards people and your caringness, because I think that's missing from a lot of businesses, especially nowadays. You don't have one-on-one face-to-face things with people, and in that business you probably will, and if not face-to-face, you're going to have actual conversations, not texting and emails. You've got to really get to know a person. If you're going to invest for them, you have to know their threshold for risk, and you got to care about that. And I think that's important that you show a lot of that trait.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Bye. All right. So for this interview, it is about me and what I bring to the business. So I have one of my best friends from college here, Sabina. She is one of the people that know me best. So Sabina, we are we are going to talk about what makes me different. So the examples are knowledge, skills, abilities, emotions. So go ahead. What do you think I bring in terms of human capital to a business?
Awesome. So yeah, my name is Sabina, and as Hannah said, we were friends in college, and I also had the pleasure of working with her in an amazing internship at Wells Fargo, where we were student bankers. So I feel like I can really explain how she is in the workplace. Well, first of all, I feel once anyone meets her in the workplace, she's extremely professional. Not only in her speech, but her demeanor, her dress, and everything. Especially doing an internship with a bunch of college students. Some of them didn't act professional all the time, or would slack off, maybe wear some Sperry's, whatever. Even though it doesn't really matter, but every little bit matters. And I remember Hannah would always come so professionally dressed, her hair pulled back. She always wore these cute high heels, and she looked so professional. You wanted to approach her, and a lot of people will look over dress, but if I'm going to a business and I'm getting advice from somebody, especially about my money, which is important, I'm going to trust someone who looks great. And I feel like that's something underestimated, but I think it's extremely important, and she puts a lot of effort into that. Also, just her speech and her knowledge about subjects, it's amazing. She always knew exactly what to say. She was informed about everything. And what's so cool about Hannah, her knowledge, is that when she didn't know something, she would go look it up. I remember one time we were learning something new about banking, and it was confusing for all of us. And Hannah immediately went to our manager and asked if she could spend some time after the workday to understand things better. And I think that's so great, because a lot of people become complacent in the workplace instead of, craving for more knowledge and craving to understand things better. And Hannah went above and beyond in that aspect, and that made her one of the best bankers. So I really admired that.
Okay.
Also, I loved how empathetic she was. I think that was one of her best qualities when dealing with people, because as student bankers, we were interacting with people all day, selling them stuff, answering their questions, and we would get a lot of worried parents, or parents that were really rude, or students that knew nothing. And Hannah would take them aside and not rush, because a lot of people would just rush and just look at them as objects instead of people. And what Hannah did was just really look at them as people that were nervous and needed help. So she would take them aside and just really sit down, listen to what their questions were. She always wanted to know what their questions and their concerns were. And that's so important, because people really feel that. And, people trust someone who's empathetic and actually cares about them as people. And I think that's so beautiful. And then her work ethic was on point, because, like I said again, as college students, sometimes you don't take it that seriously, or you feel like you can slack off or be late to work, but she was always on time, did her work, dressed professionally, spoke eloquently, and
it really made her stand out and look mature and professional amongst a crowd of some kids who didn't really care at all about anything. So I think Hannah is a fantastic addition to any workplace, and she really tries hard and always stands out no matter what. So anyone would be so lucky to have her in their business.
Wow, thanks, Sabina. Those such nice things about me.
Oh, you're so welcome.
I appreciate it. All right.
No problem.